inside out. I'm Kim Larson. I'm a certified functional nutrition coach, Fasika growth coach, and founder of Larson Nutrition. Today's podcast is in memory of a life taken too soon. So, this whole podcast is going to be talking about this. I want to start today's episode a little differently. I want to start with a person. My assistant, Mayah, recently lost a family friend. He was not elderly or in the hospital fighting a known illness. He was a husband, a father of young children, and he died because of high blood pressure, a condition he likely had for years that caused him to have a massive stroke. He went to take a shower, and they found him dead. He left behind a wife and young children who will grow up without their dad, a community that is grieving, and a family that will spend their lives wondering, could this have been caught? Could it have been prevented? I don't even know if you can hear me. The painful answer is, in most cases, is yes. When somebody actually has high blood pressure and they don't know it, and they just go, I'm going to go take a shower, and then all of a sudden they are dead. You find them dead. This is devastating to families. A wife and young children now no longer have their father. A family will spend the rest of their lives wondering if this could have been caught, right? Could this have been prevented? And the painful answer is, in most cases, yes. High blood pressure is called the silent killer for one reason. It has no symptoms, none, until the day it kills you or takes something from you that you can never get back. This is why I am recording this episode for Mayah's family friend, for his wife, for his children, and for the nearly 120 million Americans, nearly half of all adults in this country, who are walking around right now with high blood pressure, many of them completely unaware. Today, we're going to talk about what high blood pressure really is, how it leads to stroke, what the warning signs are, and most importantly, what you can do about it through the power of functional nutrition and lifestyle medicine. Let's make sure this doesn't happen to your family. Let me give you the numbers because I think most people genuinely have no idea how enormous this problem is. Nearly 48% of all American adults, about 119.9 million, so about 120 million people, have high blood pressure, also called hypertension. In 2023, high blood pressure was a primary primary or contributing cause of 664,470 deaths in the United States. That's more than 1,800 people every single day. Stroke, which is hypertension, is the number one cause. It kills approximately 160,000 Americans annually and disables hundreds of thousands more. A stroke occurs every 40 seconds in this country. That's devastating. Nearly 800,000 Americans have a stroke each year. About 610,000 of those are first-time strokes. And here's the number that keeps me up at night. Among nearly 120 million Americans with hypertension, only about 1 in 5, roughly 20%, have it under control. Let that sink in. Half of all American adults have high blood pressure, and only 20% of them have it actually under control. That is an enormous gap between knowing and doing. It is costing lives. The projected economic cost of high blood pressure is expected to reach $154 billion in direct medical costs by 2035. But no dollar amount captures what it costs a family when someone they love doesn't come home. And this problem is getting younger. Research is confirming what clinicians are seeing in practice. Stroke rates are rising among young and middle-aged adults. This is no longer just a disease of the elderly. Younger adults with unmanaged risk factors, high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, stress, and increasingly vulnerable. Before we go further, let me make sure we are all clear on what we are actually talking about. What blood pressure actually means. Your heart pumps blood through your body through a network of arteries. Blood pressure is simply the force that blood exerts against the walls of those arteries. As it moves through, it causes pressure. When you get your blood pressure taken, you get two numbers, like a 120 over 80 or 120 over 70. The top number is called systolic pressure. That is the force when your heart beats and pushes blood out. The bottom number is diastolic pressure, and that is the pressure when your heart rests between beats. Normal blood pressure is below 120 over 80. Now, I can tell you that even when I was young, my blood pressure was almost always 120 over 70. Now it tends to be around 116 or 117 over 60. Once your numbers consistently read 130 over 80 or higher, you are in hypertension territory. And above 180 over 120, that is a hypertensive emergency, meaning get to a hospital right now. Let's talk about why high blood pressure is so dangerous. Here's the thing about high blood pressure. Your arteries are designed to be flexible and smooth on the inside like a healthy garden hose. But when blood pushes through them with too much force year after year, it starts to damage the inner lining of those vessels. Think of it like this. Imagine overinflating a tire over and over again. Eventually, the rubber weakens, develops cracks, and becomes vulnerable to blowing out. That's exactly what high blood pressure does to your arteries, just slowly, silently over years. You don't feel it. The damage leads to scarring. The body tries to repair those tiny arterial tears, but the scar tissue traps cholesterol, fat, and other substances, creating plaque. Arteries get narrower, stiffer, harder. Blood flow slows. Clots form more easily. And you are now on a path toward heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, or dementia, unless something changes. The terrifying part, you feel none of this happening. No pain, no warning, just the silent, slow damage until the day it's it isn't silent anymore. So let's talk about the connection that took Maya's family friend. The connection between high blood pressure and stroke. Your brain is one of the most blood hungry organs in your body. It makes up only about 2% of your body weight, but it uses about 20% of your blood supply. It is constantly demanding oxygen and nutrients. The moment that supply is cut off, even briefly, brain cells start to die. A stroke is exactly that, a sudden interruption of blood flow to the brain. High blood pressure is the number one modifiable risk factor for stroke, meaning it is the single most important thing you can change to reduce your risk. There are two types of stroke, both linked to hypertension. About 80% of all strokes are ischemic, meaning they are caused by a blockage. A clot or a piece of arterial plaque breaks loose and cuts off blood flow to part of the brain. High blood pressure accelerates the process of plaque buildup in arteries. It also increases the risk of arterial fibrillation, an irregular heart rhythm that raises stroke risk fivefold on its own by putting constant stress on the heart. The second type of stroke is hemorrhagic, when an artery in or near the brain actually ruptures. This is what many doctors believe is most likely in hypertension related deaths in younger and middle-aged people. High blood pressure weakens arterial walls over time. It creates tiny little, like if your walls are like this, it creates little bulges called aneurysms. You've all probably heard of an aneurysm. And eventually, under pressure, a vessel that bulges gives way, bleeding into or around the brain. And this type of stroke tends to be more severe. It's harder to treat and more often fatal. Hemorrhagic strokes carry a mortality rate as high as 50% within the first month. High blood pressure is the most important preventable cause of this type of stroke. So let's talk about what happens during a stroke in real time. I want you to understand what is happening in those critical minutes because recognizing a stroke fast is one of the most important things anyone reading this can know. When blood flow is cut off to part of the brain cells begin dying within minutes. The longer it goes without treatment, the more brain tissue is permanently lost. This is why doctors say time is brain. The symptoms depend on which part of the brain is affected, but the classic warning signs are are captured in the acronym FAST, F A S T. Face drooping, ask the person to smile, right? Is the one side of the face drooping or numb? Do they have arm weakness? Or when they try to raise both arms, is one arm drifting downward? Speech difficulty, is their speech slurred, strange, or are they unable to speak at all? T, time to call 911 immediately. Do not wait. Do not drive them yourself. Call 911. An ambulance can help immediately on arrival. Other symptoms can include sudden severe headache, described by many survivors as the worst headache of their life, sudden vision changes, sudden confusion, sudden trouble walking, or a loss of balance. And this is critical for women, especially in women. Stroke symptoms can also include sudden nausea. You feel like vomiting, extreme fatigue. Oh, I'm just suddenly so tired. Hiccups and shortness of breath. Symptoms that can easily be dismissed or misdiagnosed. I want to take a quick pause here because this topic is deeply personal to me. And I think it is deeply personal to a lot of you listening right now. So many of the people I work with as a functional nutrition coach come to me because something happened, a scary diagnosis, a lab result that caught them off guard, or the loss of someone close, a wake up call they didn't expect. And that is exactly why I built Larson Nutrition, because I believe with everything in my soul that food is medicine, that your lifestyle choices are your most powerful tools, and that you deserve a real plan, not a prescription with no context, but a personalized root cause approach to your health. If high blood pressure is on your radar, whether you have been diagnosed, you have a family history, or today's episode is making you a little nervous, I would love to talk with you about how to turn this around or call your doctor. Head over to larsonnutrition.com. I offer one on one nutritional coaching and personalized programs designed around your specific picture. We look at your labs, your lifestyle, your stress, your sleep, your diet, the whole you. This is how real change happens. This is how it went for me. I had high blood pressure, high triglycerides. I had arthritis. I had prediabetes. This is all because of highly processed foods I was eating during COVID. And I tell you, it caused so many problems with my health, and I turned it around, and I can help you also. I keep seeing these people, and they look sick in the face. They look bloated. This is scary. This is going to cause death for you. And while you're at it, visit larsonbotanicals.com, my carefully created line of products to support your wellness journey. Everything there I have personally created because I believe in it. Now, let's keep going because the solutions are just as important as the problem. Conventional medicine looks at high blood pressure and typically asks, what medication can we use to bring those numbers down? And sometimes medication is absolutely necessary and life-saving. But I want to be clear about that. But functional nutrition asks a deeper question. Why is the blood pressure elevated in the first place? Because if we find the root cause and address it, we may not be able to only lower blood pressure, but reverse the underlying damage driving it. Your body is constantly improving and replacing cells. And even with fasting, you can heal your body. So let's walk through the main root causes that functional nutrition identifies. The Western diet, too much sodium, too little potassium. The average American consumes about 40 to 100 milligrams of sodium per day. The recommended amount is 2,300 milligrams. And for many people, 1,500 milligrams is more beneficial for blood pressure. That is a massive overshoot driven primarily by processed and packaged foods. But here's the part that often gets missed. It's not just about cutting salt. It is about the sodium to potassium ratio. Potassium is nature's counterbalance to sodium. It helps relax blood vessel walls, it supports kidney function, and it naturally brings blood pressure down. Potassium is amazing, but most Americans are deficient in potassium because we don't eat enough fruits, vegetables, and whole foods where it lives. Bananas, leafy greens, avocados, sweet potatoes, beans. Chronic inflammation, just as we talked about for heart disease, chronic low grade inflammation damages blood vessel walls. It stiffens arteries and drives blood pressure up. And the primary driver of that inflammation? The ultra processed, high sugar, refined carbohydrate diet that has become the American norm. I'm talking about you, Mike. High blood pressure and insulin resistance damage blood vessels directly. They promote arterial stiffness. They disrupt the balance of hormones that regulate blood pressure, including the renin-angiotensin system. It's your body's built-in blood pressure control mechanism. When blood sugar is chronically elevated, blood pressure follows. Obesity, especially belly fat, excessive weight, particularly visceral fat, the fat that accumulates around your organs in the abdominal area, significantly raises blood pressure. It does this through multiple pathways. It promotes insulin resistance, it drives inflammation, and physically increases the volume of blood that your heart must pump, raising the pressure in your arteries. Research is clear that any meaningful weight loss reliably lowers blood pressure. Chronic stress and the cortisol connection. Every time your body perceives a threat, whether it is a charging lion or a difficult email from your boss, it's all the same to your body. Your stress hormones spike. Cortisol and adrenaline cause your blood vessels to constrict and your heart rate to increase. Blood pressure goes up and in just in the short term. But when you are chronically stressed, blood pressure stays elevated chronically. Stress is not just a mental health issue, it is a cardiovascular one. Sleep is when your blood pressure naturally dips. That's why I wear an Aura ring. I have an Apple Watch. Any one of these wearables will tell you what your sleep is when your blood pressure dips, right? Doctors tell this the nocturnal dip. People who don't get this nighttime dip because of poor sleep or undiagnosed sleep apnea have significantly higher cardiovascular risk. Sleep apnea, where breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep, is directly linked to hypertension and is dramatically underdiagnosed. Loud, chronic snoring is one of its most common signs. If you snore, please get checked. Sedentary lifestyle, physical inactivity is an independent risk factor for hypertension. Regular aerobic exercise makes your heart stronger and more efficient, which means it pumps with less force, directly lowering blood pressure. Even just walking 30 minutes most days of the week produces measurable, meaningful reductions in blood pressure over time. Just getting out in outdoors, getting out in nature will help heal your body. I'm not a tree hugger, but I love nature, and nature is really healing. This is what we've been used to for thousands of years in our lives. But lately, we've got TVs and we got carpet with all these plastics and the sofas with the plastics and our clothes with the plastics. And it's really important that we heal our bodies with nature. Talk about alcohol and smoking. Both raise blood pressure directly. Smoking damages arterial walls and makes arteries stiffer. I can't believe when I still see smokers. It's like, do you have no idea what this is doing to your body? Even secondhand smoke exposure increases stroke risk up to 30%. So when you're smoking around your family, you're damaging everybody else, even when they are not smoking. Alcohol, even in moderate amounts, can raise blood pressure. And heavy drinking is one of the most reliable ways to drive it up. Now let's talk about solutions, because here is the empowering truth. Lifestyle changes are among the most effective blood pressure interventions that exist. Research shows that proper dietary changes can lower blood pressure by 5 to 13 points without a single medication. That might not sound like a lot, but a 2-point reduction in diastolic blood pressure at the population level would be expected to reduce hypertension prevalence by 17%, coronary heart disease by risk by 6%, and stroke risk by 15%. Tiny numbers, enormous impact. The DASH diet, the most researched approach, the DASH diet, uh, dietary approaches to stop hypertension is one of the most rigorously studied dietary patterns in blood pressure research. It has specifically designed and tested to lower blood pressure through food alone. In clinical trials, it began reducing blood pressure within 2 weeks of starting the plan. What does DASH look like? Think whole foods, plant rich and low in processed sodium, abundant fruits and vegetables, at least 8 to 10 servings daily, providing potassium, magnesium, and fiber. Whole grains instead of refined carbohydrates. Lean protein, think fish, poultry, beans, lentils over red and processed meats. I don't eat lunch meats filled with nitrates. Low fat dairy for calcium or whole fat. This is kefir. This helps, this shows that it's shown to help support healthy blood pressure. Nuts and seeds are rich in magnesium. Strict limitation of sodium, ideally under 1,500 milligrams per day for those with hypertension. No sugary beverages, no sodas, no, you know, what are these electrolyte drinks that, you have to think about all these highly processed from these big companies, right? All these big companies, all they care about is profits. They don't care about your health. They care about profits and lowering. So they're buying all these companies that we have trusted for so long, like Tom's of Maine toothpaste, garbage now. They've ruined it, right? So I get alpha hydroxy toothpaste, and Fig is a really good brand, FYGG. No sugary beverages, minimal added sugar, no ultra processed foods. And then the Mediterranean diet, equally powerful, more flexible. The landmark Predimed study found that people following a Mediterranean diet enriched with extra virgin olive oil or nuts had a 30% lower risk in major cardiovascular events. The Mediterranean eating pattern naturally supports healthy blood pressure through its emphasis on healthy fats, anti inflammatory plant foods, omega 3 rich fish, and polyphenol rich olive oil. It also reduces arterial stiffness. It lowers LDL cholesterol and fights the chronic inflammation at the root of vascular damage. And the good news is you don't have to choose between Dash and Mediterranean. They are highly complementary, and combining the best of both is exactly what a functional nutrition approach would do. The most important dietary move for blood pressure is getting sodium down and potassium up. About 70 to 75% of the sodium Americans eat comes from processed and packaged foods. 70 to 75%. That is sickening. From processed and packaged from highly processed and packaged foods. Not the salt shaker. Read your labels. Cook at home when possible and load up on potassium rich foods like avocados, sweet potatoes, white beans, leafy greens, tomatoes, salmon, bananas. Key nutrients that support healthy blood pressure. From a functional nutrition lens, again, looking at the root cause, these specific nutrients have meaningful evidence for blood pressure support. Potassium, it counterbalances sodium. It relaxes your vessel walls. Found in avocados, which I talked about, leafy greens, bananas, beans. Magnesium acts as a natural calcium channel blocker. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. I'm battling a cold. It helps blood vessels relax. Found in almonds, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate. This is back to magnesium. It also in dark chocolate, leafy greens. And dark chocolate is 75% dark chocolate or greater. Many Americans are deficient in magnesium. Omega-3 fatty acids from fatty fish like salmon, sardines, flax seeds, walnuts. These help reduce inflammation, lower your triglycerides, and have been shown to lower blood pressure. Calcium from dairy, fortified plant milk, sardines, leafy greens plays a role in vascular contraction and relaxation. Vitamin D deficiency is associated with increased hypertension risk, so get your levels tested. CoQ10, coenzyme Q10. Some research suggests supplementation may support modest blood pressure reduction. Every little bit helps if you're having any problems, particularly in those with cardiovascular risk. And move your body. Aerobic exercise is blood pressure medicine. Consistent, moderate activity, at least 150 minutes per week, or about 30 minutes most days, reduces clinical significant reductions in blood pressure. It strengthens the heart. It improves arterial flexibility. It supports weight loss. It reduces stress hormones and improves insulin sensitivity. Any dietary intervention that leads to weight loss will also lead to a drop in blood pressure. Chronic stress keeps blood pressure elevated. It is not enough to just say reduce stress. You need actual tools like yoga, breathing deep. Let's actually do a deep breath right now. Breathe in. Another. And one more. Research supported approaches include regular physical activity, mindfulness and meditation, deep diaphragmatic breathing, That's where you're feeling it in your diaphragm. Adequate sleep, maintaining social connections, and setting healthy boundaries around the demands on your time and energy. Learn to say no. These are not optional luxuries. They are cardiovascular medicine. Your blood pressure should naturally fall during sleep. And when it doesn't, because of insomnia or poor sleep quality or sleep apnea, your cardiovascular risk raises substantially. If you snore loudly or your partner has ever noticed you stop breathing during sleep, please speak to your doctor about getting tested for sleep apnea. Treating it can have a dramatic effect on blood pressure. This may be the most important thing I say today. You cannot manage what you do, not measure. High blood pressure has no symptoms. The only way to know is to check it. Here's what I would do: get a blood pressure cuff for home. They are inexpensive and widely available. Do a little research though. Make sure you get one that is reliable. Check your blood pressure in the morning and evening, seated and relaxed, for at least 3 days before concluding what your baseline is. Because if you're stressed and you get your blood pressure done, you're gonna be like, "Oh God, my blood pressure is high." Know your numbers. Normal is below 120 over 80, so like 117 over 70. Elevated is 120 to 129 systolic, stage 1 hypertension. I'm sorry, stage 1 hypertension is 130 to 139 or over 180 to 89. Stage 2 is 140 plus over 90 plus. Ask your doctor not just about blood pressure medication, but about your full metabolic panel. What's your fasting glucose? What's your HbA1c? What's your fasting insulin? What's your lipid panel include? Triglycerides, kidney function, vitamin D levels. If you use a free blood pressure medicine machine, at pharmacies, they can be helpful for monitoring trends, but calibrate them against your doctor's reading. I want to be clear and balanced here. For some people, lifestyle changes alone are not enough. If your blood pressure is severely elevated, if you have multiple risk factors like diabetes, high triglycerides, or if you have already had a cardiovascular event, medication may be an essential and life saving part of your plan. Functional nutrition works alongside conventional medicine, not against it. The goal is to address root causes so that over time, you and your doctor can assess whether medication needs to be reduced. But please do not stop any medication without your doctor's guidance. I'm sitting here thinking about Mayah's family friend, about his wife, about his young children. And I'm thinking about how many of you listening today have a parent, a spouse, a sibling, a friend, someone you love who has high blood pressure that isn't being managed. I want to ask you to do something after this episode ends, not for yourself, for them. Send them this episode, share it on your social media, text it to your family group chat, because the person who needs to hear this might be the one who would never seek it out on their own. You can find this podcast on YouTube. The full episode is there at the Larson Health Podcast. And if you're ready to stop waiting for a diagnosis to take your health seriously, if you want to get in front of this, build a real plan and have someone in your corner who understands the whole picture, I'm here. At larsonnutrition.com, I offer personalized one-on-one functional nutrition coaching. We look at your labs, your lifestyle, what you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you're managing stress, and we build a plan that is actually yours. And if you are supporting your health journey with targeted nutritional products, visit larsonbotanicals.com. It's under construction right now and should be ready in about 10 days. Everything in that line has been created by me for you thoughtfully and with the same care I bring to every client I work with. I need to name something that the data is very clear about. High blood pressure does not affect everyone equally. Black Americans have among the highest rates of hypertension of any group in the United States and among the highest rates of hypertension related stroke mortality. Men between 18 and 39 have significantly higher hypertension rates than women in the same age group, 30% versus 16%. And in communication with less access to nutritious food, healthcare, and time for self care, the burden falls even harder. These disparities are not accidental. They are the result of structural inequalities in our food system, our healthcare system, and our society. And talking about them, acknowledging them, is part of fighting them. Functional nutrition principles should be accessible to everyone. That is part of why this podcast exists. I want to talk about something simple, clear action plan, because information without action is just noise. Check your blood pressure this week. If you don't have a home cuff, get one. Stop at the pharmacy, call your doctor. Know your numbers. This is not negotiable. Replace one processed food per day with a whole food. Chicken, broccoli, shrimp, fish, uh, Brussels sprouts, green beans, peas, specifically one that is high in potassium. Get half an avocado, a sweet potato, a handful of spinach in your smoothie, a banana. Just one change. Start there. And please don't make it bananas the whole time because bananas are high in sugar. And cut your sodium intake by reading one food label today. Look at what you eat most often. Is it bread? Is it canned soup? Is it condiments? Is it deli meat? Find one thing to swap for a low sodium version. I don't eat deli meats because they are highly processed. I don't care what they tell you. Oh, this is the best brand. They are all highly processed. They put it into a big vat and they churn up all the meat and they throw in a bunch of salt and sugar and all kinds of nitrates and all kinds of crap in there. It is highly processed. It's not like buying a whole chicken and pulling off a piece of chicken and eating that chicken. That is much better for you. Finding one thing to swap for a lower sodium version. Take a 30-minute walk today, not next week, today. It's Saturday. Go for a walk today. Your arteries will begin to respond within weeks of consistent movement. Go for a walk again tomorrow. Share this episode with one person in your life who has high blood pressure or who hasn't had their blood pressure checked in over a year. You may not know whose life you are saving. High blood pressure is not a life sentence. It is not inevitable. It is, in most cases, addressable with the right food, with movement, proper sleep, stress management, and support. Mayah's family friend did not have to die at the age he did. His wife did not have to become a widow. His children did not have to lose their father. And that reality, that this was likely preventable, is the reason I'm asking every single one of you listening today to take this seriously. Please check your blood pressure, know your numbers, and take action. Not someday, today. If today's episode moved you, and I hope it did, please share it, post it, text it to someone you love. Leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more people find this show and get this information. And to Mayah and to your friends, family, this episode is for you. May his memory be a gift to everyone who hears it. You can listen to the Larson Health Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and anywhere you listen or watch or listen to your favorite podcast. You can watch full episodes on YouTube and snippets on social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where I also share behind the scenes clips, recipes, and bonus insights from my coaching practice. And if you're ready to take your health to the next level, visit larsonnutrition.com and Larson Botanicals to learn about my personalized programs, hormone support meal plans, and products, and one-on-one functional nutrition coaching. Thank you for watching today, and please share and write a comment or a review.